should start streaming. I can verify before anybody pops in. I can pop in here. It takes a little delay. But it doesn't want to go there, but if I go back to here, home, go here, it should be there. If I go back to here, there we are. Okay, afternoon, hey Glenn. Country Carpenter and Joshua. I think a few people had a kind of a weird moment when they saw me pop up a few hours ago, and that was because of the problems we had last week. Brent, afternoon, where we had to scramble because of an issue with getting everything online, and I actually had a very quiet day, and it's a 3-day weekend, so sometimes the workload can shift. Hey David, hey Ed, and as a result I realized, I don't have to work so late today. So I got in and I was thinking, man, it would be cool to see if this thing's gonna work. So I decided, I'll do a test run real quick and just come in and go test and then verify on YouTube. So that date for that one, it only runs for a minute or so, but it's for 8:28. I just put the wrong date in it, and to make sure I would have video and audio. So, and the other good reason for doing it was Trevor is involved in filming production for Hey Jason. Football game this afternoon, this evening, so he wasn't going to be available, so it was better that I start to troubleshoot and see if it needed work or what I could do earlier than later. Kind of a shame a bit, because even though it is 107 right now, feels like 110 according to the Weather Bureau. It was nice this morning. I was out by Carefree Cave Creek, and pretty much it's hey, what's up? There was a lot of cloud cover and it kept sprinkling, and it was just enough. It just kind of kept it really nice out. So I was actually like, wow, this actually isn't that hot today, which it did warm up, but yeah, but at the time it felt really mild. Plus I was out north of town, rural, but it felt really good out there, and there was a little breeze with it, so I was that's nice. But I got out early once I realized, well, nobody else is sending me anything, and man, it's supposed to cool down. They keep saying it's going to cool down. It's going to be 79 in the morning, and it'll only be 102 tomorrow, and that day never comes. It's always the next day. It's another hot one. So I don't know, but like I said, it was really nice out. Got home, was able to check this and kind of run everything, and then just lay back and relax, which was an entirely different process than I'm used to. It did feel good, so I was able to do that, which makes me a little sluggish, because I'm more used to kind of just being tired and not being kind of like feeling like I got some rest. Maybe I'll perk up, but yeah, I could have slept for a few more hours. There we go. Not as busy of a week, even though the Rendezvous comes up here October 25th, so we're less than 2 months out, and things are starting to fall in place. This weekend will probably be a big point of getting some number of things and starting to lock certain things in. Then the wheels go into motion going towards it. But as of right now, October 25th, gates should be open by noon. There should be a Don or a member of the Dons there, myself, Kim Johnson, Greg Davis. One of us will be down there and have the gates open. And then we'll be there and pack it all up Sunday morning. Big guest speaker night will be Saturday night around sunset or dusk or whatever it is that when we kind of gather out there. It's always a little later because we're always finishing dinner and stuff. and we'll kind of do the same routine with that. We'll be in the amphitheater regardless. Should be a little warmer out, but it's cooler to be at the amphitheater, but even more so with the amphitheater, I think better is it's just the talking dissipates. So if you want to talk to somebody and sit there and have a quiet little conversation, it's not like it is in the Ramada. The Ramada gets too loud, too dusty. There's just too many other issues. It was someone else's suggestion we move it back into the Ramada, but I would prefer people being able to sit in chairs because the landing areas allow you to bring chairs and stuff out there if you want, but it's cooler, it's more open. We'll put a little campfire up down there at the base, but I don't think it'll be cool enough we really need a fire, and then we can go back up to the big Ramada and have a campfire when we're done, or down to the host campsite where I'm at and have a fire there when we're done. Whatever we just decide to do. There you go. It's Arizona Gold Hunter tells everyone hello, and here we are. But it's been a kind of a quiet week. There's some inquiries. I think people are not always... People have that wrong perception. Someone mentioned something. A couple people mentioned this week the fact that, there's never any mention of anything involving the Spanish in mining and treasure and the superstitions or any of that stuff. And actually, we cover quite a bit of that stuff at times. A number of things in history and different bits and pieces. So it's kind of odd, but I think one of the problems is I tend to work with things that I feel are in historical context and documented, and not the urban legend myth type thing. And I think that makes a huge difference. So people spin stuff, and it's like, well, you can't always trust some of these things and these stories and some of the beliefs out there because there's nothing backing any of it up. Do you coordinate and or collaborate with the mysteries? No. That was a long time ago. Back when we'd started this and we were doing our thing, because the TV show, not this Chasing Legends, but the episodes we did on YouTube, all that stuff preceded them. And Charlie LeSueur wanted to do his own thing. He was a museum. It comes off sounding wrong, but you think of it as a bar fly. We call them museum flies. Him, Hank Sheffer was. And they just kind of hung around the museum and stuff and all that stuff. They weren't Dutch hunters. And Charlie wanted to do his thing because he was involved in some television and old film stuff. And he got together with someone. And Charlie ran into us probably a year or two after he'd been doing it. And Charlie was talking to me. And I threw out, and I've talked about this before. I said, hey, why don't you guys go out and do your thing. We'll go out. I'll tell you where we're going to be. You can come out and film by us, and whatever you want to do with it. And, you guys can be part of whatever we're filming. You can film us, blah, blah, blah. But we can do something, not so much partner, but double up and kind of show the inside or behind the scenes or some stuff or whatever you want to do. And Charlie was that'd be kind of cool. And I said, yeah, it would be kind of interesting. At that time, I was always looking for collaborations. That I would think people would find interesting. They were just basically telling stories out of Tom Collenborn's Ride Through Time and stuff like that, and some other things. And it was pretty much Charlie. He would just go do interviews and some stuff. I think it was just Charlie, really, telling the real story of the Superstition Mountains. And there were some interesting things we were researching that I thought Charlie would find interesting, which I mentioned in one of our videos when we were working on the stuff with the, because it took a couple of years, COVID and a lot of things interfered with releasing it, the spiral staircase. And I wanted to reach out, and I heard he had not been doing well at a couple times, but I was like, well, when this is all done, I'd get Charlie, because he'll be interested in this, because it involves a descendant of his. And not a descendant or pre-ascendant, whatever. But it involves someone, and he'd find it interesting, and he might give him some material to do and all that. And part of my initial thing was trying to get someone interested on the archaeological the academic side, to work with us on a couple things. And so that kind of fell through because he died. And then there was a few other things. But yeah, and then let's see, Jack worked with us on the TV show. We always worked with Jack, but they got Jack to do stuff because Jack couldn't really go in the mountains much anymore at that point. And Larry Hedrick, who never, self-admitted wasn't a Dutch hunter. He was Tom's friend and stuff. And they kind of were doing their own thing, and more power to them or whatever they're doing. And with their kind of thing. But it was, the problem was it was two different animals. One, we're in the mountains. One, we're part of where they kind of, it feels like they're all around the museum. We were part of more of the historical society and Dutch hunters and the actual people. So it was like two different things entirely, and I think it overlaps. And I just kind of felt like, it just doesn't really make sense. I was asked, want to get together, we should do something together. And I was just kind of, at that point, Charlie was gone. And I think there was just a few things. And it's not meant to knock them, but they were doing repetitive things. Like, I think they were like on the third or fourth version of a certain story. And I was like, it's not kind of my thing. And sometimes they were completely... It didn't seem to relate or connect for me. So I just kind of went, So I got along with Charlie fine. And I still talk to Larry and Jack. I didn't know Hank, really. So, but, I knew the guys they talked about. And so it was kind of completely, it's an odd thing. But it's kind of a different thing. So it was just never something to be. And we end up with so much of what we do in the connectivity that we have with Discovery, Travel, and everybody else, and the other streaming by parts that work with this, it's so different. And I don't even want to get into certain aspects of every view you see on here. There's more than that, but this channel is very, very much exactly what it is. If you look at the rankings in YouTube, this channel is actually pretty high because people watch everything we do from beginning to end. Watch time is how YouTube's measured. Most people always think it's views and think that's how your revenue and things are going to work. You'll make your money and you'll make your rankings and you'll really do better on YouTube and things will play out better if you have people watching from front to back. Which you will find that a lot of places it's like, they got twice as many views as you, but their ranking's way down there. It's because they got bots, or they have people somewhere in Asia or China, a bunch of people that just go in and do algorithms to watch for 30, 40 seconds. And that kills your ranking. So that's not what you want. It's not what you want. It's not what's going to build, add, and create for you. So, I do my thing because I understand how it all works, but I do it because I enjoy it for the love of the mountains. And I don't know what the other reason is. Everybody else does. Hey, have you ever explored with a drone? Well, I've been out there. We've had drones and stuff. I mean, why take a drone when you can walk? I mean, if you take a drone and you go, that looks interesting, you fly the drone up and says, that looks interesting, you still got to walk up there, so why not just walk? So there's drones, and we have a drone here. But drone footage to me, we filmed Legends for 4 or 5 weeks, and then they found out Mike Wonderly had a drone in the van, and then we started doing drone footage. But most of the show we didn't even film with a drone. They it worked out well down in Fish Creek Canyon in certain areas, but it's, drones are really annoying for filming purposes because they make a lot of noise. And then I've watched a lot of people with drones lose their drones out there. But I don't see, it's not the way to go. You can use satellite imagery, aerial photography, pick point, and it's better just to put boots on the ground. Because if you can't grab a sample and look at something, this looks like this. Well, if you can't physically get up to it and look at it and see if it's man-made or it's natural and stuff, if you can't physically look, you can't just guess at it. So you might as well just physically go in the first place. Trying Charlie reminds me of Terry Carter. No, Terry's such an awesome dude. Charlie was a good guy. Charlie was a good guy, and I got along with Charlie. But don't compare him to Terry. Terry is freaking like balls to the wall awesome, man. I just talked to Terry. Was it over the weekend? Was it a weekend? No, it was last weekend. I just talked to Terry on the phone. I really like Terry. Terry seems to like me too, so we get along really good and have conversations. But I really, really like Terry Carter. The stuff he does is the stuff he does, and it's cool. I like Terry's stuff, man. And he's into what he does, but he likes to let other people tell their stories. And more power to him that he gets these people to commit themselves to camera. I'm wondering sometimes if his little brain's going to explode by some of the things people talk about. But Terry's really good people. Can you tell us some of the laws about the hunting treasure and the superstitions? Well, what about treasure? Well, hunting treasure, you can hunt for treasure all you want. That's different than mining. But you'd have to get a treasure trove permit to dig it out if it requires digging and stuff. I don't know if we did a video ever on it. Ron Feldman talked about it, and there's a bit of it in his books. A couple of his books, you can find some of the information. He used to have the stuff from the... I thought he had something on the web about it and all, but there's a permit process through the Forestry Service and everything. And he went through that. We had him at the Rendezvous one year talk about everything he had to go through, which is a lot of regulation. But that's as far as the treasure laws. But you have to, if you're going to extract or do this, you have to get a treasure trove permit. And I believe the Forestry Service told Ron that treasure trove permit they gave him was going to be the last one they would ever issue for the wilderness area. Now, that doesn't mean it would be, but that's what they told him, and that's his story. And I tend to believe they would have told Ron that. But that was the heat dig. And I know his expanded edition of the Lost Adams Mine, or whatever that's called, Zigzag Canyon, I believe there's a lot of the information in that, and I believe there's some of the information in his autobiography. So both those books carry a bunch of the information concerning that dig. I don't know if Jesse's carries a ton of it either. He kind of does a little bit of oversight over some of it. But Ron's covers it, and Ron will probably be out at the Rendezvous and so forth. But maybe I'll talk to him, and maybe we'll sit down with him, and he can do just a long-form video with us just talking about the real boring, dot the I's, cross the T's stuff. But it was a lot to do, and it cost them a lot of money in the end. But they really were focused on doing that stuff. Greetings, everybody. So don't be digging out there. If you think you found something, because if you dig anything major or something, and they say something about art, I always say this: any artifact you find is trash, and you're allowed to call trash out. So if you find the Ark of the Covenant, just say, "Hey, it's trash," and it's old trash, and just take it out. I like Terry's bowl haircut; he's cool. I like Terry's voice, just his mannerisms and his voice, and he always seems happy. Hi Wayne, how are you? Hope you're well. What's the crake this week? I don't know what the crake is. I'm not that Irish. I don't know. I can't do that. What's the crake this week? What's the crake? What's up this week? What's the crake this week? The Irish. Can't understand the Irish. Sorry, my Kraken. Agatha is prospecting with a shovel allowed without a treasure trove permit. Well, okay, so you're talking about two different things. Prospecting, looking for gold, is different than a treasure trove. Treasure trove means something that's been stashed in there. There are two different things, different permits. For a mine or gold or prospecting purposes, you would be able to take samples. I think you're allowed to take enough of 2 handfuls. You cannot use any mechanical modern device in the mountains, but you can take things out to have them assayed, analyzed, and then you may return and you may file with the Forestry Service and everybody for a claim in the mountains. Whether it's approved and you're allowed to work on it is a different thing. Treasure trove permit is something like gold bars, artifacts, that type of thing, or gold that had been extracted and stored somewhere. So they're two different things, two different types of permits. So, okay, there's that. Can we drink to Bob Ward? Bob. Oh, it's like, what's the news? What's the crake? I meant crake, I meant. What's happening? What's going on? What's up? Why don't you just say that? Bloody Irish. But, yeah. There was there was a guy I knew that for a while there that he was from, I think he was from Dublin, and we used to talk, and people always love his accent, hearing him talk, but it was always funny watching his eyes spin, because they would say, are you Scottish, are you Welsh, are you English, are you Australian? They rarely ever got that he's Irish, and Irish are pretty easy to pull out, you don't find many Welsh. But no, I was always like, man, that's kind of, but yeah, when people would think he was like, are you from Australia? Are you from Melbourne? And he'd get that look, he was a very nice person, but I think it was frustrating that people couldn't get it down. Remember hearing that you can take 75 pounds of surface, you can take whatever you can carry out, you can't dig a ton out. You can say 75 pounds, and if they catch you pulling that 75 pounds out, they can make you dump it down a gully and so forth. That's always your problem, is like, because it does say you're allowed enough to take enough sample of a handful. And that's what the laws stated in the wilderness area, which is different than outside the wilderness area. So if you're in Hewitt, outside the wilderness area, it's a much different law and filing and other things. But then again, if you're inside the wilderness area, chances are you might as well just surreptitiously go about your business and just decide to be wealthy and not tell anybody the story and write a book of fiction about it, because that would probably be the safest place to go. And then, for God's sake, however you figure out how to pay taxes on that stuff so they don't get you that way. All right, I almost drank to Bob Ward again. Okay. Oh, and not the crack thing. Wayne, always the most interesting find for you digging and treasure hunting. There's different things, sometimes one was Randy Wright and I were out by Bluff Springs Mountain. We were on the west side, and I don't know why we were working our way up above Williams Camp. We were north of Williams Camp, working our way up around the cliffs. We were doing a meticulous, foot by foot search on the mountain. Randy was pretty frustrated with me, but he was higher up than me, and he was to my left. So he was more north on the mountainside. And I told Randy, for whatever intuition, inclination, I said, go up there, there's a spot, go over there and look at that area. And it's just something about that spot. I wanted to get up there, but I figure he's 10 feet away, and I'm 50 feet away. Might as well get him to go there. And he kind of then he went there, and then he was like, oh, crap. And then next thing I know, something goes flying through the air at me, and it was a knife. He found this old knife from about 1900 that the handle was gone, and the point on the end of the knife was broken, but he flung that, almost hit me down the hill. I still have that. I've shown that. Believe that has to be, and that has to be around the time period of Barry Storm and them. I don't think it's early, obviously 1900, but it's sometime during those eras, probably was broken or dropped up in there. Randy, at the same site, picked up a rock, turned it over, and it was probably about this big. And when he flipped it over, it was kind of like an egg shape, rounded on the bottom. But when you flipped it over, it was kind of flat with all these crystal features on it. And looked like a crystal city on top. It was really cool looking, heavy as crap. And Randy took that, and he put it in his pack, and he hauled that out of the mountains, and then he doesn't know what happened to it. But that thing was really cool. It was heavy. That was a very cool one. The Burns Ranch coins was very, very cool, because I didn't realize, you hear the stories about Burns Ranch and Bob Ward and buried coins and all these stories I'd ever heard, but I'd never seen or heard any. I've never even heard of anybody finding anything on any of those places. And then to think, jokingly pick up, oh, look, I figure it's from the workers or someone's been out there, lost a quarter. So I'm thinking, look, I found Burns treasure. I thought I was going to be funny on camera, and then look at it and realize I had an old silver dollar. And there was, I don't remember how many we got out of there, 20, 30. But we had found a bunch from a busted jar and some of the glass from it. That was very cool, because it was not what we were looking for. Frank was metal detecting, doing something somewhere else. Whatever was going on, I was just over, and Trevor was filming B-roll, and I was just off, just kind of doing my thing, having a cigarette, looking around, and I just went, hey, Trevor, but hey, check this out. So that was kind of cool. So, see, those are always the cool ones, when you don't expect it. Maybe you're not looking for that specific thing, and then you kind of find that thing, and then you're like, man, finding that hole down at Fish Creek when I was scouting for History Channel and the production company for season 2, and then finding the pocket watch. I wish I would have been more careful. I don't know if I could have been any more careful, but finding that pocket watch, was Frank dated from around the 1880s in the canyons, and Tom guessed it was from this prospector around the time period. Who washed away. I got it written down somewhere. It was 1880s, 1890s, turn of the century. But anyways, finding that stash spot, which was like a dresser drawer near this old camp, was very cool. Because, I looked at it and I was like, and then there was papers in there that, I'm trying to think of what was all in there. It might have been like Bible papers or something, but it just, I thought it was leaves, and I was poking around to make sure there was no animal in there. Then I decided, regardless if there's spiders or anything or scorpions, I'd just reach in and start pulling out. So I destroyed the papers, not realizing they were there. There were some pieces of cloth, which just fell apart, just starts becoming dust, barely handling it. And there was like a straight razor. There was an old straight razor in there too. So it was like someone's cubby hole. I went back and checked to see if there was anything else. I didn't find anything else. But it was probably someone had some papers they were reading, some Bible excerpts or something. Who knows what was in there. So those were probably the coolest things. I always remember other things, but those always are cool because I can remember them. And 2 of them I actually got on film. So that was the coolest part about that. See, I get lost. Okay, there. Sounds like they don't want anything coming out of the mountains. Well, it's a wilderness area, so it has restrictions. Does Ron still pack people into the mountains? Yes, but he's costs a lot of money. But he does. He will. Didn't you find a piece of gold by the Eleanders? Yes, that was a real fun. Yes, I found that gold. And Ron does pack. So if you go, and it's not Ron packs anymore. It's Jesse and Josh. Ron runs the gift shop. Jesse and Josh are the packers. But Jesse packed someone in, I know, last year. Yeah, when I was up above the Ely Anderson Trail, up on the south end of Bluff Springs, on the western side of going down into what you call Canyon de Fresco or Bluff Springs Canyon. And I was up there, and I was actually glassing for deer. Yeah, but I was up there just hanging out and looking around it, for hiking season too. And for whatever reason, I'm just looking at the ground and stuff, and I just picked out this quartz, and I was like, "That's weird," because I don't see much quartz just laying up top there like that. And it's very level in that area. It's very flat. It's very grassy. Holds a lot of water in the soil up there. So I picked it up, and it was like hand-cobbed quartz that had some little bit of gold left in it. And there were like, I don't know how many pieces I got, 3, 4, 5. I found a couple pieces that were heavy with iron. And I picked those up and then looked around, couldn't find anything like it. Randy went up and I went up and never could find anything from it. I always believed it was someone had been mining up there, and it's who knows if they were going down the Ely Anderson Trail, most likely leaving the area, but something had fallen out of the pack saddle for whatever reason, or Apaches had gotten someone's mule or burro and the pack saddles were still there and stuff was falling off them when they were getting stripped off and all. Who knows which or whatever it is, whether they were taking them up there to slaughter or they were taking them down, because Bob Ward also claimed there was a flat stone somewhere in that area where they had slaughtered, he believed they'd slaughtered a lot of burros and stuff. And I've never found that. I always wanted to find that spot because everybody had told me back in the 70s it was very, very stained. It had been very stained, very thick. I'd never seen it because I wanted to get a sample and see if it was actually blood on there or some other mineral. And, yeah, I did find that up there. So, I still have that sitting out there. Ron, what about you and Frank found that bone? The one you all thought, well, that Frank said it's human. He says, I think it's a thigh bone. He held it out. I had no idea because I was not sure. We found a lot of weird stuff. We found a couple wallets down in the canyon there. Like, what was people's wallets just here? We found a pair of pants. It was very odd things, a shoe. And finding the bone while finding those other articles of clothing and stuff made you think. It's called Bob the Bone because it looks like someone wrote Bob on it. They didn't. It's just a thing on it, but it looks like someone wrote Bob. It's in the garage and it's safe and secure. But that was interesting. But it was interesting because the main interest we took in it is we didn't find any other bones in the area, but we'd found those pants, the shoe, a wallet which had nothing left in it. It was pretty shredded. So everything would probably come out of it. I can't remember what else we found, but we found all those things prior to running into the bone. Those other things we found further up when we were walking in. And that was kind of the thing that kind of threw us, is that, was it, a body being just broken down and pieces falling off and stuff and all that. Hey, Jax. So that was the bone, and I took that. After we finished, I went down and had the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department look at it and give us a confirmation. Because we'd found the wallet and other stuff with no ID or nothing. And I had pictures of the other articles of clothing. There was a shirt, too. And so I thought if they thought it was identifiable, I'd give them the pictures. And they could see if it fit a missing person stuff. And then nothing ever came of it with them. There was a lot more to that story. I think if you watch the video, you'll see it play out a bit. My cousin found Soldauber Wickenburg on a good luck charm. Said with 1917's way up in Rich Hill. Yeah, I was, like I said, I don't think the silver dollars I found at Burns Ranch were dropped there in the 1880s, 1890s. I think they were part of some collection someone had. Either it was Old Man Burns or Bob Ward. And I just happened, had those stashed, and that's what I found. So, wow, that's amazing finds, Wayne. The stash of the coins. See, I don't do the Irish accent because that would just be insulting to you. Because every time I see McCracken, I want to do, go do that. That pocket crystal rock round egg formation disappeared. Maybe have a certain energy property. Well, it disappeared because he ended up getting divorced and put his stuff in storage. Sad story. I shouldn't laugh. But, no, he ended up moving and a lot of things happening in his life. And there was a lot of things disappeared. And I kept the knife and some of things. Because we always had, it's a partnership. So, hey, you can carry it. You want this back? No, you can have that. Okay. And he had that. And I thought he should take it to someone that does, it's like a water pick, cleans them out. And I said, man, if you get that cleaned up, that thing's probably worth some money. It's really, really cool. And it would have been worth a lot of money. Hey, Dexter. So, that being said and done, I'm pretty sure he said he put it in storage. I've asked him about it, and we've talked about it a bunch of times, and I don't think it turned up. I think it just kind of like got lost with some other stuff. Was it Joe? Was it Joe or Bob? I don't know. It might have been Joe alone. It wasn't carved on it. It looks like it is, but if you take a microscope or something really and get into it, it's just it's nobody wrote on it. It's not real writing. So it just looks like someone took an ink pen and wrote Joe or Bob or whatever, and then you look at it up close and realize it's just it got marked or stained that way. You ever been packed in on horseback in the mountains? Yes. So there used to be a lot of packers. There was more than one person. Ron, I think, has the only packing license left. The Donnellys probably pack too still. The Donnellys still probably have a packing. Ron has the oldest packing license. So I'll clarify that. I think the Donnellys still have a packing license for the Superstitions. There used to be a lot of people, and then a lot of the ranchers used to pack people in too. I went with people that wanted to be packed in. And there's been times I've actually just hiked in to join people that were packed in because I didn't want to be part of that expensive money. I'm willing to go there, bring my gear in, sleep, and eat your food, but I do not feel like spending, $500, $800 out of my own pocket for our stuff to be packed in. And it's funny too, because I know some people get packed in and then they don't even ride in, they walk in. And that's, to me, is like, if you're going to go the easy route, because there's nothing worse than doing that whole hike and then your gear's all there and you have to walk all the way out. I don't know what's going on with one of the dogs. Jax, Rocky, who is that? Is that you? Come here. What's the matter? Choking on something? Okay. So yes, I've been packed in. I've been packed in other places too and rode in. One of the things I disliked the couple of times I went with a group that packed in or had a train of animals is then you have the animals and feeding and watering the animals, and it just changes the whole thing. The fewer people, small group in a certain area works so much better because you're not having to provide as much water, food, and everything for everyone, and it just gives, the more people you run into, the more it takes, and usually more accidents can happen and things can happen because just the odds are there. What is the easiest way into Charlie Boy, from north or south? I would say from First Water Bull Pass and across, but I don't think, it's not, I think it takes longer from the south. Well, now it does, because I can't start at the quarter circle U, but starting from Peralta, you got to go all the way down, go around Miner's Needle, and then you have to go up and through, and then you have to go along Bluff Springs Mountain. It's God, I would say it's either or. It's probably a bit longer from the south side. There's not as much elevation change. I think there's a lot of downhill. Bull Pass. The problem I have with the Bull Pass method is there's a lot of uphill when you leave. So it's kind of that thing like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Getting in is a lot easier. So I would say going in First Water and go down and go by Blacktop and down Bull Pass and work your way across to Charlie Boy. Probably a lot quicker that way, but I'm thinking in terms of round trip going in and out. And I would think going in and out, I'd rather go from the south in some ways. But I think the distance is longer, but you don't have to go up and downhill. Actually, leaving, you're going to go more downhill for the most part. It's just too bad. If you had the access through the quarter circle, you could get up almost to the wilderness fence line and cut a lot of that out. I think everybody pretty much, I don't know. I guess it depends. The Donnellys probably pack in to Charlie Boy from the south, and then Jesse would probably prefer from First Water. So it's, this or that. So I don't think it really kind of makes that much of a difference. I've been both ways, and I can just tell you, most people that have been, it's kind of like certain things, and I'm just like, going back up Bull Pass and all that stuff. I don't know, but yeah, I'd say first water's quicker, but it depends on how long it's been and all since I've been through. What kind of dogs do you have? Maybe it's not heat. He probably he's chewing on stuff around here. Nah, he's a border collie, Jackson, and then I got 2 Aussies. I got one Aussie, Rocky, and then the other Aussie is Dexter. Dexter's a res dog. He's a feral dog. So he's come around a lot. We're going to do a video on him sometime, but he's come along a long, long, long way. But he's kind of a wild one. Can't put a leash on him. Does not go for walks. He basically lives with the other dogs now. So, but I've had the last 25 years, 30 years, it's been Aussies, Border Collies, and then there was a lot of working dogs nonetheless, but Huskies, Malamutes. I've had Malamutes, and Malamutes and the Huskies blow so much fur, and they pull so hard, and they're not easy to train dogs. But I've had my Aussies, and my Aussies, Cassie, and then Jake, the infamous Jake, and now with Jax and Rocky and Dexter. The longevity, the health, and a lot of things with those dogs. They're just really good dogs. Jax was born on a small ranch out in Whitman, Arizona, so out by the horse corral. So that's where I picked him up. So he's just a cow dog. Are there any recent or possible historical discoveries that you're excited about reading recently? No, nothing recently. I see stuff that interests me. There's a few things that have interested me. I've not. Those people's discoveries are their own personal. They're doing their own research, so I'm not sure exactly where their research is going to go and what it's going to find for them. So that's kind of yeah. So you were saying north or south, but it's actually technically going to Charlie Boy. You're coming in from the west or the south, because you're either coming from Peralta and going north up to Charlie Boy, or you're going to First Water and then you're traveling a little south and then you're traveling east to go to Charlie Boy, because it's more over going east. So we have it right there. We got all that short. Have you or are your buddies experienced any mystical? I've talked about some of those things. Well, out in the treasure hunting or any trail. No, I don't. I'm not much for one. My son's a leprechaun. He's a big red-headed, bearded. Yeah, he has no pot of gold, but he's yeah. I'm not one. I grew up around a family. There's Scottish, Irish, and Scandinavian, but there's a lot of stories. There was always ghost stories. There were like the folklore stories, which country people have, and they derive from the old country and different things. What I would say is I always recognize that stuff as stories and entertainment, and definitely for children, and there's kind of a novelty with it, and I understand those things. I know who Cullen is, and I know a lot of things. But as far as like the mythology of what you would say is mysterious and stuff, there's been a couple things that I've never had an explanation for that I wouldn't say are one thing or the other. I just don't know what it was about, and I've told those stories. Otherwise, most of the time in the mountains, to me, it's just the mountains. And I always think that people, when they get in the mountains, being separated from time and place, have a problem with their minds not being able to take that separation. And there's a lot that comes to their imagination. You can hallucinate. You don't have to do drugs to hallucinate. You can hear audio hallucinations, oral hallucinations. You can hear things that aren't there. Your brain will do a lot of crazy things. So I've been in the mountains. I've been around people that have said they've seen some things, and I can believe that they think they have seen or heard things. As far as I know, there's just two, maybe three things in the mountains that really puzzled me. And I can give you different possibilities, but I can't give you what it probably was because I don't have anything definitively to answer. And so there's sometimes you just don't have the answer, and I'm not sitting there going to do a TV reality show on the paranormal about it. It just is what it is, and that's fine with me. People are always disappointed in that because, but my grandfather, and this, I was thinking about this today, my grandfather could tell a ghost story like no one else. He could sit there and tell you a ghost story even as an adult that would chill you to the bone. He had the ability as a storyteller and to do those. He could tell a ghost story. He did not believe in any of that stuff. He was completely that was nonsense. But he could tell you a story and make you believe in it, and he was absolutely just excellent with it. So, but he was not superstitious that I know of. I never heard anything, and I talked to him quite a bit before he passed away, and I was kind of surprised. But my dad would say, if he sat down and told ghost stories in a room, everyone was afraid to go off into the dark to go to sleep. He said grown men, just, it was too much. Aussie dogs, Australian shepherds. Australian shepherds. I think they're an American breed. They look a little like border collies. They're a little heavier. They're a little bigger. Most of them are larger. People have the mini Aussies, but they're good dogs. They're sheep and cattle dogs as well. But I don't know what happened to mine. He vanished. So he must be doing fine. Border collies are awesome, man. Smart as a whip. Good watchdogs, good family dogs, always energetic, last about 15 to 20 years. That's just such a good dog. And don't go out to a breeder, just go out to a ranch or someplace and find a mixed mutt like that. And they are good working dogs. And then not to be mentioned mixed with the Australian cattle dogs, which have the very short hair. And I think they are from Australia. Australian shepherds, however, are an American breed, I believe. Hello, my friends stating to get cool in Massachusetts. Well, go brag about it to somebody else. What about the stickman thing you saw? Well, I've told the story, and it's there, and then it's not October yet. We'll tell it at the Rendezvous, but the stickman there, I've done 2 videos. There's a short-form video I talk about it, and then there's a longer-form video I talk about it. To this day, people have given me, I've had different indigenous friends tell me what they think it is, or people share. I don't know. I'm not going to close my eyes and do it, but I can still remember. And so that was the one thing I had for a little while was, could it be something I just kind of misremembered or imagined or something memory-wise? And I know I didn't because it's still pretty stuck in the craw there. You don't remember, there's a nightmare, a bad dream or something. It does not stick the way this did. And you got to remember, my concern was it was a person and something had happened to the person. I never was able to resolve it. So it's not, it's funny because to me it's not spooky, even though it has its element, because not knowing whatever the hell that was. But I always looked at it as it's just kind of a mystery out there on the mountain. And I was very fortunate, and no one else has ever had anything even close or similar happen. And I thought, that's weird that I had that one incident, and I never heard anyone else tell me they had anything such or similar to that. And then people told me there's a similar, but they're never in those mountains in that area. And I was like, So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But in the superstitions, I've never heard anything close to that. And that's always why that stuck with me, is because I always waited for someone to explain something similar. I know what I saw, and I give a pretty good description of what I saw from a distance, and I really did think it was possible. I thought at first a tree, and then I thought it was a person, and then I really thought it was a person, and then I thought, oh shit, they fell. Maybe it was someone wanting help. That's why they raised, And I thought, oh crap. So I took off, trying to watch where I was walking, but heading over there because it had just disappeared. It just seemed to go down on the ground. It wasn't a lizard man, wasn't a gray alien. It was whatever it was. And to me, to this day, is like, I don't know what happened. And I got down there and I didn't think it was possible to misjudge the distance where it was a person who fell over. And I looked over the edges, went further out than it would have been, and tried to look to anywhere that it could have fallen or anything, and never came up with anything. So, who knows? It was magic. Okay. I read a letter, and anybody wants to watch it, Stickman, the Stickman. It's been a couple of years since I did that, but I did it in October. I did a full episode on it on Chasing Legends, and then there's a standalone video called The Stickman that I did early on, that when we were in the mountains, Trevor and I were there, and I started talking about it because I remembered I was walking through and saw something similar and was talking to Trevor about it. It wasn't the Stickman, but I was talking about, it was a shadow, and I started talking about it, and I told that story, and then later we told a much more bigger story. Hey, Rocky. We were talking about your dogs, now you come all panting in. Yeah, from playing. I read a letter to the editor and all talked about strange lights at Geronimo's cave. That was probably the hikers staying up in there. I don't know. I've slept in there. So many people have been through there and all. Supposedly it used to have walls back when Art Weber, Greg Davis's uncle, had gone up there in the 30s. There was still something structural to it. But it's, we don't even have any pictures of anything like that. Yeah, so just be in the mountains and no phone, sitting on your own possibly makes you hallucinate. I think it gets in your mind, I've talked. You can be in the mountains in a very quiet place and camping and start hearing things, and they're just normal things, and it wouldn't bother you if there was another person or two, someone around. But now that you're by yourself, everything's just bigger and more threatening, and once it gets under your skin, then you're done. Because it's hard to get out of that mode. You're always just a hair from falling right back into it. And fear. Some people don't have it. And generally, if you spend a lot of time alone, and spend a lot of time in the mountains alone, and then eventually that kind of ebbs its way out of it. You're more curious, or like, what is that? What would that be? What can, it's just like, what's that smell? It's different. So because you kind of just understand things are what things are. There's such a fear of like something might happen, a mountain lion might give you. There's so anticipation of so many things. Then you get out there, and after a time, because I remember the first couple of times I was by myself out in the mountains, I was scared shit. Listen, I'm not going to say I wasn't. There was moments that I was like, what am I doing? And then it just broke down, and I was like, I like this. And then later, I relished it at times, and it's different, I don't feel like I'm being watched, where there's people I've been with, been like the whole time, we're being watched. By who? The people I think there's people up there, woodies. And I'm like, no, I don't feel a thing, man, I'm fine, because I don't have that monkey on my back when I go in the mountains. Maybe it's a sensitive, open to energy. I don't know. Just the other day, I was walking down a sidewalk, and the transformer work we were doing. I'm sensitive enough, man. My hair raised everywhere on my body because the transformer was leaking, and I could tell. I didn't get that close, and man, everything on my body rose up. I work around electricity and some of the stuff I do, so I can tell, and I can feel the energy in the air from things. So I'm not going to say I'm a sensitive like that, but I can feel things like that and understand. But I can also separate and say, oh, what causes that sensation? Because I get the sensation that you might get that you think is paranormal or sensitive or odd like that. I will get it because of other things, grounded things, or things not grounded. And because of that, my mind rationally looks at it as like, oh, what's causing that? And it can be natural elements. I mean, a mixture of number of natural elements will create a natural battery, which I've talked about. So there's different things, how wind cuts through things. Things can cause things, and people generally go to a pretty quick conclusion of thinking, oh, that must be what that is. I remember a friend, we were hiking one day, and he thought a ghost had crossed our paths. It was evening, and what it was spider webs. I'd seen it before, and I don't know what I thought it was the first time I would have seen it, but it was very odd. But I was like, dude, you don't want to get in that, man, because bad story is I once went through one of those things and it had little baby spiders in it, and they got in my mouth and stuff. And other than spider webs and baby spiders in your mouth, bad thing, because you can't spit enough the whole night to get it out of your system. Oh, yes, that was bad one, man. I was all freaking day, man. I thought it was just nasty. The Irish potato famine was pretty terrifying in doing some genealogy. Yeah, taters. A lot of taters, and then there was the potato famine, and then turnips. A lot of turnips. Good Scotch broth. I like a good Scotch broth. I have questions. I can't separate some flower gold from this black sand. It is too fine. Woody Wampler would be the person. If you're at the Rendezvous, Frank can help you too. But Woody can separate anything. Woody does not let anything go to chance. So Woody would be the guy with that. When it's flower gold that's that fine and stuff, I'm like, I probably got 2 pounds of that on the side of my house mixed in the dirt. It's the stuff I just throw out. I don't care. I could make it up in physical work for what its value is to me to work on. Okay. Happy Friday. Just got here. Wow, you got late. Wayne, you got a great sense of humor. Did the TV show even make you tone it down? No, because I went on the TV show with the attitude. I thought it was supposed to be a TV show that was serious about treasure hunting. Boy, I was mistaken. So Eric DeLille, it was a 4th or 5th week we were filming, and something happened, and he turned to Frank and went, shit, we've been out here all this time, and I just finally found out Wayne has a sense of humor. That's how I was. I thought we needed to be serious, cover stuff, be pissed off when they're making us look like goofballs, and really try to take it straight the way it should be. Because of that, I didn't show much humor. I realized I needed to be drier and all that. I think the happy, fun way. But see, when I'm in the mountains and I'm serious and it's business and we're doing stuff, I'm not goofy. I'm not really goofy to begin with. But my sense of humor is what it is. But there's also different versions of you, what you're doing. When you're working and you're seriously at work at something, or you're serious at something, there's a different you. So when we were working 8-10 hours a day filming, I was serious. I might have bitched, I might have complained, I might have got angry about things that weren't being done right. There was a lot of things, but the sense of humor I didn't think would play on the television, because Frank was kind of playing the a-hole, and you had DeLille and Magnuson a little bit, off there, and then Woody's kind of calm, almost comic relief at times. Well, it's just, we're going to be Duck Dynasty. I don't want to be Duck Dynasty, so you needed someone to be John Wayne. And just stoic, we're burning daylight, let's get going, and no nonsense. And I am that way to a large degree. And so I decided that part of me was what you were going to see on camera. And that's what you get on a lot of it. You don't get me, you see me relax and a little more at ease when I'm around Shoes or something. Because, we were having fun and it was hard to really just be totally dead serious. The rest of the time, I didn't know these other guys that well at the time, like I do now. So it was easier for me to kind of just keep it back. And like I said, DeLille, I'll never forget, he turned to me and looked at everybody and went, great. All this time when we finally find out Wayne has a sense. And those guys knew nothing really about me. Magnuson found out on the last day that I coached Babe Ruth and Babe Ruth baseball and stuff, and managed and stuff, and I was a baseball nut, a baseball historian of sorts. And he was like, I didn't even know you liked sports, or much less baseball. You've never talked about it. Because I was focused on the show, the history, educating, teaching them, and getting them out alive. So that was a big difference in that. Dallas, there are several options, and Trevor's brought up several things. It will not be to Geronimo's Cave because I don't feel like killing anyone. There's a couple different options I'm looking at. There might be a shorter and then a longer one. I don't know, but I'm thinking of something interesting. I got one of interest. I really don't want to do the Wave Cave crap and go to the Patchy Kid Cave because there'd be too many people. But I'm thinking of a couple things that could kind of be like a one-time thing for some people, and then where we could have maybe a split off where there's a return group and then another group can go and further explore another thing. So that's kind of what I'm working out and all. What about Woody and Frank? Will they still about hunting? Frank will be out with me this fall and so forth. Woody likes teaching. We just talked about that. Woody really likes teaching. Robert, hello. He likes doing the instruction and teaching and stuff, and it's a health thing too with both of them. They're getting in their late 70s. I've been on Frank quite a bit about him getting his health together, doing plenty of walking, making sure he's walking every day to keep his legs together. But it's just hard. It's just the joints and certain things. Remember, Woody almost died, so the fact that he's actually walking now to and from the mailbox is a big deal. It's just, you have so much time, so many years, so much about of what you do, and I don't know. You try to do what you can within the framework of certain things. I wish the time of me and Randy and myself, when Randy and then I would have taken Trevor out more. There was other things going on. I get out with Trevor, so there is things I'll do with Trevor. There's things I'll do with Frank and Trevor. There's things I'll do with Frank. There's things I'll do with different people. So we will be out, and there will be certain different things, but the pairings will be different depending on what we're doing. And, I like to keep the focus on some of the stuff because of what we started doing here with Frank and myself and that. But there's going to be some special things. And we have some stuff we filmed from last year that we might just release as special, like hour pieces of just one-time things going and checking some stuff out. Let's see. Wayne, loads of cousins in states. One, Wyoming. Have you ever been to the Devil's Tower? I saw it. I'd never been to it. Didn't climb it, certainly. And I've seen it on television, obviously. It was a Bob Ward drink. But, no. So we're at the 5 o'clock hour. So cool. It's almost dinner time. But, we did the day site mine before. We did the day site upper and lower. We've done both of those. And we did some ruins. We've done a bunch of different hikes. You got to remember, 20 rendezvous. We hiked probably at least a dozen of them. So there's been a lot of hikes. We hiked to the soldier's grave. We did a lot of hikes back in the day. Jack Carlson used to lead the hikes on those. The guy who wrote the hiking guide with Elizabeth Stewart. Cousins in every state. Yeah, I don't know much about family in Ireland, because there's two, obviously, a maternal and paternal, and there's a split, and I don't know where the Irish side is to that. It kind of like works itself out. I just know what I have running in my veins. So there's a lot of emerald in there. So it is what it is. You'd have to be thinking Turner. So the Turners. So I don't know. And I don't know exactly. I have to look it up where they're all from and all that. But I don't have too many names of that. Because that family, after a few generations, it's harder to follow. You had the right energy on TV show, bro. Yeah, and that was the point, is I'm doing television. I want it to be as serious as possible. If we would have done it the way I wanted it, instead of kind of some of the bullshit they wanted, I think it would have been better. I think I think if we would have got season 2, the show already was starting to come up under the numbers of Oak Island, which, remember, Oak Island only had 5 episodes when we filmed. It was a brand new show. It really wasn't the Oak Island you think it is. And we were the sister show. And by the time we got done and out, they were blowing it up. And then they kind of ran late with us. And then we still did well. Axemen pulled, like, what was it, 1.5, 1.6 million. And then the second show, which we were the B show at the night, the late show, usually drops numbers, 3, 4, 500,000. And we did 2 million for our final episode. So we technically outdrew the lead-in show, which is the big show. Oak Island's a lead-in show. Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch is the lead-in show. That's the main show. And then the follow-up show afterwards, the next show, is where we were scheduled and slotted in. And we went up against the Oscars and other shit. But no, we really did really well. And I think it was the seriousness. So, you remember Oak Island show in the program about Skinwalker Ranch? Yeah, and that was what got started it. Is they did Curse of Oak Island, and they came in and told us they want to do one Curse of the Superstitions, Curse of this, Curse of that, and it was going to be all year long. You'd run a couple months of a show, and then it would be the Curse of something else. There was Curse of Frozen Gold. There were several shows Curse. We were Curse of the Superstitions, the second show. And then they decided our show was way too different and something about it, and they changed our name to, what was it? We were called, Frank would be yelling at me this, Dead Man's Gold. We got changed from Curse of the Superstition Mountains to Dead Man's Gold. And we thought that was pretty cool. Dead Man's Gold, DMG. And that was really cool. And then History Channel and all them got cold feet and thought it sounded too much like Pirates. Now, one of our episodes is called Dead Man's Gold still. But they got cold feet on that title. So when the first trailer ran on History Channel, the first couple of days, we were just called Superstition Mountains. And that's all that was there. It just said Superstition. And I thought, our show's called Superstition Mountain. Well, that was keeping it simple. And I was, and I even talked to someone from the show about it, and they were confused. They were like, really? That's what they're going with? And then they suddenly, then it started doing the legend of the Superstition Mountains. So it went through name changes. And they even asked us about it. We liked Dead Man's Gold. Dead Man's Gold was kind of a cool. Like I said, we were all DMG, Dead Man's Gold. But yeah, it did have the pirate connotation because of Pirates of the Caribbean at the time. But it fit. It really fit. And they did the one episode, and then the name was never. Then there was that silly show, was it Snake Island or whatever? Remember the one that had all the snakes supposedly on it and all that crap? And if you watch that show and stuff they said, the names of episodes, they were literally stealing material from our show the whole time. It was so funny. Even the cast typing and stuff at times. It was so funny. Frank kept calling me going, it's weird. It's like, he says, I'm watching it and I'm thinking, somebody over there is working on their show that was on our show, because he says they're using the same stuff and even some of the lines are the same. So it was kind of, I guess, imitation, the sincerest form of flattery. So there you go. We're going to wrap it up. It's time for dinner. It's time to call it a night. But we will see everybody again Monday on Chasing Legends. And then we will see you next Friday. And there should be a lot going on. Is there going to be a season 2? We did the YouTube stuff, and we did that, which covers some of it. The actual proposed season 2 never happened, because that is considered proprietary right of History Channel, what we discussed and what they did, because I worked with the writers on that. And there's bits and pieces of what we've done since then slapping in there. But we couldn't do exactly what they wanted to do at the time. And so Frank and I tried to work around the peripheral of it, see how far we could go before they would slap us on the hand and say, get away. And they never did. Now, too far down the line, in my estimation, there was a number of different production companies and channels wanted to pick us up, but no one ever gave us Treasure Quest. They were Treasure Quest Snake Island, they were Treasure Quest something else. They went like 3 seasons and kept changing their name all the time. But no, they kind of like everybody kind of got into this weird of like not sure what to do. And to be honest, I've been happier doing what I'm doing now and being in the mountains than that stuff sometimes. So there you go. Actually went places and explored. You, Frank, were funny and good dynamic. Yeah, Frank and I have a good friendship and good time. Good evening. Good evening. I think you came back and you were there. You were there earlier. Enjoy dinner and day well. Take care. Okay, and have a great weekend. Yeah, everybody have a great, well, for those of us in the States, 3-day weekend because it's Labor Day weekend. And Treasures of the Trinity. No, that wouldn't have worked. There's 5 of us. See, it would have been cool if there was 3 guys in this and you could do things and you could come up with a catchphrase. It would, have a great holiday weekend. Thanks, man. Have a great weekend. Great weekend. Thanks as always. Thank you, everybody. So, went by actually pretty quick. I'm going to finish this off and close this out. Get it uploaded and popped up there for everybody to watch who joined late or really didn't pay attention the first time around, was feeding the cat or shaving or shampooing their hair. So we will catch everybody the next time around, Monday on Chasing Legends, next Friday, and we will start even more than we did today, a little more and more, really starting to delve it into Rendezvous talk. So thank you for joining us. Audio.